Happy Friday, degenerates. Welcome back to the Sharp Action Report. That's right. We are talking UFC 301, and we are joined by our guy, Andrew from Superbook Sports. He's taking a little slice out of his day to go ahead and talk with us about these fights. We're going to go top to bottom, and he'll give us the notable sharp and or public action on this pay-per-view card. Andrew, my guy, how you doing today?
Man, I'm excited for this card. I know we have pretty high expectations after that 300 and the 299, but I still think this is a fun card with some good scraps. I mean, the name value isn't as great, but I'm looking forward to this card, and we've gotten some good action on this card as well, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. I mean, you can't have UFC 300 every weekend, right? Like, obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a notch down, and there isn't the star power or the name value of a normal pay-per-view card, I'd say, on this one, but it's a Brazilian card in Brazil stacked to the gills with Brazilians. Like, it's fun matchups. There's going to be a lot of finishes. I definitely think this one is going to, in hindsight, we're going to look back and be like, we judged it a little too harshly. That was a fun card.
I'm with you. 100%. I agree with you.
All right, guys. So if it's your first time watching this show, like I mentioned, we're getting sharp action here on this spot. It's mostly my guy, Andrew, reporting to us. And every once in a while, he gives us a little tidbit of his own thoughts on these fights. But you're not here for me today. You're here for him. So let's get straight on into this bad boy. Do me a favor. Hit that like button if you're on YouTube. If you're on social media, share this thing out. Get everybody in here. First fight of the night, Alessandro Costa takes on Kevin Boras. And looking at Superbook Sports, just a disclaimer, every once in a while, these lines vary from state to state. I'm in Arizona. My guy is in Vegas. So every once in a while, the numbers are just a little bit different. Boras is a plus 100 even money underdog. Slight favorite, Alessandro Costa at minus 120. I think this fight is going to be a banger, man. And I do apologize, guys. I'm apparently losing my voice a little bit for some reason, but I will power through. What are you seeing on your end on this one as far as sharp and or notable action?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the line movement in this fight has been pretty notable. I wouldn't say from our book there's been too many crazy bets, but we opened this thing at 140 on Costa. It got as high as 150. We did start seeing some dog action at like plus 130-ish, and it shot the price down pretty quickly. And actually, in the last 45 minutes or so, this line has kind of kept crashing. And like you said, we're sitting 120 here in Vegas now on Costa. So it opened 40, it's sitting 20. It feels like this thing is getting close to maybe hitting the pick your winner. So right now we need the favorite, but yeah, not anything too crazy to report. But it looks like this thing's trending towards a pick.
Okay. I know a lot of people who have kind of stamped their flag on this one, man. I'm not so confident myself. I think I'm looking under. I'd much rather play violence than pick a side on this first fight of the night, but it definitely should be a fun one. Next up, you've got Ismael Bonfim, a huge favorite over Vince from Hell Pichel. You know, we've got that classic young streaking fighter taking on an older, savvy veteran. The younger fighter is obviously going to be favored in this spot, but I'm curious how much action there is on it.
Yeah, this is the same song and dance. So we opened this one up at closer to $4. It's sitting $5.50 here in Vegas. In some of our other states, we did get some action early on a lot of these big favorites, the guys like Petrino, Barriault, Bonfim. So we've been pretty aggressive to try to see where there would be some action on the dogs. So we, like I said, it's moved almost 200 cents, and there hasn't been too much pushback on Vince, but yeah, I'm hoping to see a couple bets as this thing comes closer. But to be honest, with this fight in particular, it was Bonfim money early, and it kind of pushed the price up, and we haven't had very much resistance. So we try to get out ahead of it.
Okay. Yeah, man. We always talk about it with these pay-per-view cards. There tend to be a couple of very, very significant favorites, and we're always talking about that parlay buster and where it's going to show up. Doesn't seem a lot of people have much faith in Vince Pichel. There's a couple other spots, though, that are a bit greasier on this card. Next up, you've got double debuting women's MMA fighters right hot off the presses of Dana White's Contender Series. Diana Barbosa is a minus 240 favorite over Ernesta Carrascate, and she's a plus 190 underdog. I like the Barbosa side myself on this one. I just think the grappling is going to be way too much of an edge here. But as far as the line movement goes, the sharp action or any notable action on this one, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I would say a few of the guys in the back have kind of said that they want to win on the Barbosa side. So this is another fight we've been.
Oh, we lost him. We lost Andrew. There he is.
Am I back?
He's back.
Sorry,
we got him.
That. Sorry. So we opened this.
Vegas
one up
came in and cut the wire. They were like, "You can't tell him that one."
Don't give him the facts. So we opened this one at 190. We're sitting 240 on Barbosa, and like I was saying, a couple of the guys like that Barbosa side in the back. So we've been kind of aggressive to move it to try to ride a couple bets on the dog. And if it's your first time listening, we do the same song and dance. A lot of these big favorites get thrown into the parlays closer to the day of. So it's really for us, it's our job to get it kind of out ahead of it and write a couple of dog bets early because you know you're going to get that favorite money just accumulated in all the parlays. So, yeah, we've been aggressive to try to move this one and stay on the high side of Barbosa because a couple guys like Barbosa. But nothing overly respected, but we're looking to need Barbosa.
Okay, bookies like Barbosa this week. That's music to my ears being on that side myself already. Now, speaking of aggressive, this next fight, Jamie Malarkey taking on Mauricio Ruffy. Holy crap, maybe the biggest mover of the entire weekend, man. This line has just shot up on Ruffy. You got to talk to me about this one. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, this one is actually one that surprised me because it feels like everyone's kind of just counting Malarkey out. We haven't gotten too many crazy bets on Ruffy. The action's definitely coming more in on that side, but we've moved this thing up. So we opened Ruffy at 150. It's sitting 210 here in Vegas. And yeah, as we've inched this thing up, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen any Malarkey money. I know he's been knocked out a couple times, but I feel like he's always in all the fights, like he's always fighting a pretty close fight. So this is one that we've also discussed in the back. If this thing keeps moving up, I mean, for me, I know we usually don't talk about it, but I might have some interest on the Malarkey side. But yeah, nothing too crazy so far. Mostly just money pushing that favorite.
You know, man, it's interesting. Whenever these lines go from near pick'em to like decent favorite, I tend to respect that. And then when it blows out from decent favorite to large favorite, I start to get a little worried. When it comes to MMA and we're talking about people throwing knees and punches in a cage, those are the ones that scare me, man. When it's a landslide, everybody just convinced on the same side. I have a Ruffy bet from a little earlier on in the week when the price was a little bit more manageable, and I'm starting to sweat that just a bit because it's definitely blowing out here a little bit for me. But we'll find out what happens. Drakkar Klose takes. Oh, I'm sorry. You have something to say?
No, I was just gonna say when you start seeing the public just comfortably laying $2 on something, that's when my view is like, okay, there might be something here on the other side because usually you don't see people so comfortable laying $2 on a fight that almost opened closer to a pick'em. You know what I mean?
Especially in a UFC debut, a guy that's never been proven at this level. It's wild, man.
Exactly.
All right. Next up, Drakkar Klose taking on Joaquim Silva. One of the more confusing fights on the weekend, in my opinion. This line doesn't, to my eye at least, hasn't moved all of that much. And I don't really know anybody with any super strong takes. Do you have anything coming in that we should know about on this one?
Yeah, this is actually one of the fights where we do have multiple sharp bets on this fight. So we opened close up at $2. It shot all the way. When it was $2, we did take a respected bet on Silva very early, plus 170. That kind of shot the price down, and it's been closer to the range of 150 to 170. And yeah, so when it inched its way back up to 170, we did take another bet on Silva from a different respected guy. So there is a lot of money out there on Silva, or respected money on Silva, but I haven't been able, for me, just handicapping the fight on my own, I don't really understand it. I get that close, usually fights to a close decision, but yeah, I think he's the better fighter here. So I'm kind of not trying to go crazy with the respected action, but we still have to respect it and try to win on that side. So respected money on Silva. Not sure I love it, but that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, man. Close. Both these guys are a bit of a puzzle. I really don't know what to make of both of them. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if you told me either one won by almost any method. You know what I mean? Knockout, submission, decision. I'd be like, okay, I could see it.
Yeah, one of the guys in the back, he's like, if it's a close decision, then we are in Brazil, so just factor that in. And I'm like, okay, that's a good point. I can see that. But so maybe there is some value on betting the dog when you're getting plus 170 or plus 150. But I personally haven't got there.
Okay, all right. Next up, we've got UFC newcomer kind of storming onto the scene here. Orolbai, a decent favorite over Elvis Brener. I like the Orolbai side here myself, and it seems like the line tends to agree with me here, but I'm curious what the Sharps have to say.
Yeah, this one really has kind of bounced around a little bit. We opened up, how would you say it, Orolbai at 220. It got as high as 280. So most of the action really has been on that favorite side, but now we're sitting down at 250. Not in Vegas, but there's been some action on Brener before that weight cut. I know he was going through it looked like in the weight cut, but
yeah, I saw that clip.
There wasn't too much post the weight cut, but early action was on the favorite. Then as this thing kind of got up to 280, we started seeing some bets on Brener. Nothing overly respected that I have to report, but yeah, I mean, there's been good action on both sides.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that one's going to be interesting. I'm hoping that the favorite comes through here for me, but it's hard to go against Elvis Brener the way that guy fights. Next up, I am hoping to hear good news from you, my friend. Yasmin Lucindo takes on Karolina Kowalkiewicz, my nemesis here in MMA recently. I've got a lot of money on Yasmin Lucindo this weekend. Don't make me sad. What are you seeing across the desk here on this one? What do we like?
So we opened this one much lower than it's sitting now. So clearly there's been some respected money on the Lucindo side. We opened this thing at 320. It's currently sitting 410. It got as high as 450 on that side. So early on in the week, one of the guys said he felt in the back, who's a big UFC guy, said that he felt like this price is pretty steep on Lucindo when it was closer to 380. And then we kind of were a little bit off market, and we did take a very respected large wager on Lucindo. Somebody came in and was willing to lay 380 for a pretty large amount. So that kind of said, all right, let's move this number and get it to where it needs to be. And yeah, so we need the dog here for now. But yeah, sharp money on Lucindo, so you should feel pretty good about that.
Okay, I am loving that, man. That makes me feel great, especially knowing that they laid minus 380 on her. Now, obviously, you're going to get those scalpers out there that'll just take the best price available. If you guys are off market, you know, somebody could be just snagging that number. But if anybody's willing to chalk up and lay 380 on a side where I like the favorite, I am more than happy to hear that.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to preface it by saying we were a little bit off market. So I understand the bet, but it's a respected better. So if somebody's willing to bet 380, they must be pretty confident in that side.
Absolutely. I like it. Okay, Jack Shore takes on Anderson Brito in the next fight here. Brito, usually the underdog, finds himself the favorite here in this spot. Jack Shore still getting comfortable in his new weight class, finds himself the underdog. Very curious on this one, man. What are you seeing over there? Anything interesting?
Yeah, nothing too respected, but this number really has bounced around a lot. So we opened it at 160. We're sitting 185. I feel like there's a lot of opinions on both sides in this fight. So we've really gotten good money on Shore and Brito. And for me, I think I lean the Brito side, but I'm scared to start laying a number that's getting closer to $2 when at some books it was 150 earlier in the week. So I haven't got there personally, but that's the side I'm leaning. And I know you said he's usually been closer to a dog or a pick in some of his last fights. So it's nice to see the market is finally catching up to him after he's had a few good performances in a row.
Yeah, I'm always nervous the first time someone who's been an underdog flips over to suddenly being the favorite. It weirds me out a little bit, but we'll see how this one goes. I lean with you on Brito as well. No action from me at this point just yet.
I can think of one fight last week on 300 that Diego Lopez fight. He had been basically a dog or a pick in all his fights, and I had that same mindset where it's like, wow, now he's the favorite against a guy I thought was a very tough out, and he took care of business in a minute. So, like, you never know.
Yeah, it's funny, though, because on that fight specifically, I had almost no problem. Like, I hesitated at the beginning just a little bit, and then I kind of was like, no, this guy's the goods. I should get in here, and kind of kicking myself for not making more money on that spot, because these pick and price tags on that kid are just gone. We're going to see bigger numbers from now on. So maybe
Agreed.
Brener is following, sorry, Brito, not Brener. Maybe Brito's following the exact same path here. We'll see. We'll find out if Jack Shore's got it or not on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Kyle Barriault is our next big favorite on the card, minus 650 over Paul the Bear Juke Craig. And I'm a simple man, Andrew. I'm a simple man. I want to see wins and fights for the culture. I want to see a Paul Craig finish. I want to see another meme knockout inside the distance. I am pulling for it, but it's hard to get there with an actual bet, with an actual investment with my hard-earned money. So probably sitting on the sidelines and cheering. I think Kyle probably ends up winning this thing by knockout. It seems like a pretty decent setup fight for him. But Paul Craig is the guy that will buck that setup fight. He's done it before. I'm hoping he can do it again. What about you?
Yeah, this is one that actually was getting bet pretty aggressively on the favorite early. So we opened Barriault at 380, and now we're sitting 650. So early on, I would say this was one of the fights that the original number was no good, and people basically knew that's not where that line is going to close. So they were very aggressive early. Then we were aggressive in a response by moving this thing as much as we could. And I'm kind of shocked that we haven't got any big bets on Paul Craig because, like you said, he's done this before where he shocked everybody. So I'm expecting to still see a bet, especially as we're getting closer to $4.75, $5, like 5-1 on this guy who's done it before. I'm pretty shocked that we haven't seen a bet, but yeah, so early money was all over the favorite, and I would say some of it was respected, but I mean, I think it's more respected because they knew that just wasn't what the line was going to close, so they were just getting out ahead early on it.
That makes sense. And hey, you might get action from our guy Matty Betts right here at Home of Fight. He's already throwing the blue face paint on. He's convinced that a Paul Craig KO is coming, so I'm rooting, man. Paul Craig, a bookie's best friend. He might be your parlay buster this week.
That would be the book's dream. That would be a huge one for the book.
That would be a huge one. Well, I think any one of these next three here is going to be pretty massive for you. We've got Potieria taking on Michel Pereira. I've talked about it all week, man. Weird dynamic. One guy moving up a weight class, one guy moving down a weight class. Both looking like they're kind of finding their stride a little bit in the right weight class. So it's going to be interesting to see how they clash, but everyone seems to be convinced that Michel Pereira is the side here. What are you saying?
Yeah, so this is one I kind of have a few things to report. Actually, a more entertaining one from a booking perspective. Ooh. So we opened this one at $4, which is not where it's sitting now. It's sitting $6.50 on Michel Pereira. But as we inched this thing up, it got as high as $7. We did get a bigger sharp bet on Potieria at that point when it was plus 500. So that was something that was very notable to us. Obviously, with somebody who's minus 650, you don't have to go crazy giving the price away. So it didn't move the market too much, but it is nice to know that there is some sharp action on that E-horse side. So this is one that we're hoping we can get, but we haven't moved it too aggressively to try to write Michelle Pereira money, because we know that money is going to flow in tomorrow with parlays. And so yeah, we're feeling good about how we've booked this fight. One more thing on this fight that was notable. Somebody actually bet on a pretty big bet on the under, which this card has been kind of light on the totals, but that was one that I noticed, so I thought I would give that to you guys.
Yeah, thank you for the heads up. We've got a sharp bet, not necessarily on the side, but on the total here. And I think that does make some sense with the way these two guys tend to fight. All right, good deal, man. Next fight up, one that I've got some thoughts on. We've got Vitor Petrino taking on Anthony Lionheart Smith, my brother. We're looking to go 2-0, me, Anthony, and Guskov this week, man. I'm hoping I found the parlay buster on the card. Vitor Petrino, another massive favorite, minus 600 here in this spot. What are you liking?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be saying the same thing. A lot of these are $6 favorites, so
there's like 5 of them on this card. What are we supposed to do?
and all of them were not close to where we opened. So I mean, maybe we didn't do a good enough job, or hopefully we get a couple of parlay busters. But we opened Petrino at $4. It's currently sitting $6. Like I said before, most of the money is going to come in parlay form when you have $6 favorites. So this is one where we have gotten some bets in our other states on Anthony Smith. I wouldn't say anything overly crazy, but I don't see this thing closing any higher than it is, because there's enough action on Anthony Smith where I feel like we're in a good spot. And yeah, with the Igor fight and Anthony Smith, it's nice to actually see some people betting on the dogs, because when you just have all that one-way money on the favorites, it's just a nightmare to be sitting there rooting for a $5 or a $5 dog, sure. 5-1 dog. It's just like, you know how it is. But yeah, we've gotten some good Anthony Smith money. Nothing overly respected that I have to report.
Does it bring you any comfort that there's a couple of psychopaths out there like me that see a path to victory for Anthony Smith? Or is it more just like, hey, we get a little bit of rebate once this guy smashes?
No, I mean, it makes sense with the numbers. Like, at a certain point, yeah, Petrino is supposed to win this fight, but I mean, no one's going out there and laying $6. So at a certain point, a sharp guy will come in. And I've said this a couple times on the podcast. A lot of these guys know that the sports books are going to get out ahead on these big favorites, and they wait till the last second, and then they bet on a huge number on the dog, because the number's been pushed up all week from the parlays, and then you get a huge bet on a 5-1 dog, and now you're like, all your liability has just flipped, and now you're rooting for the favorite. So yeah, it's a fun game we play back here.
I'll bet it is. All right, man. Yep. I'm hoping my brother Anthony Smith can do us one good and cash a big fat ticket for me, bust all the parlays, and then I can be the only happy guy on Twitter tomorrow. Next up, co-main event, Jose Aldo takes on Jonathan Martinez. The King of Rio is a slight underdog here in this spot, and man, this is one where the longer I sit on it, the more I like my dog shot here on Jose Aldo. I think you could argue this thing should be a pick'em. Maybe even Jose Aldo lined the favorite. It's just he's coming off of a layoff. He's coming off of a retirement. And everyone has seen Jonathan Martinez absolutely on a roll recently. So I think that has a lot to do with why the line is where it's at. But I'm very curious to see what you guys are holding on this one and who likes what.
Yeah, this is probably the most interesting fight on the card from a booking perspective. We opened this thing real close to a pick. Martinez was minus 115, Aldo 105. So it was real close to a pick. And then early on, there was a few respected, or a group of people that came in and was heavily invested on the Martinez side. I'm not sure if they were trying to push the number, and clearly it pushed the market. And now we're sitting 150 on Martinez. But Aldo does seem like a popular dog as well this week, and I'm kind of with you, man. Like, this is one side where I'm like, I think this fight is a pick 'em, and if you can get any plus money on Aldo, I really do think it's not a bad idea. But yeah, this has been a really fun one to book because there's strong opinions on both sides. Early sharp money came in on Martinez, and that's why the number is sitting where it is. But we're definitely seeing some Aldo money as well.
Okay.
And then one more thing on this, we did get a decent sized wager on the under in this one too, which was an interesting one.
I like that a lot too. I can see a lot of ways where this fight finishes. So, guys, believe it or not, we have got more of these big notable spots here, it looks like, on a couple of totals this week. So intriguing. Very, very interesting. And Greg, late to the show, no mention of the big guy as of yet. But we do have one more fight to talk about. We'll see what happens next. Alexandre Pantoja defends his belt against Steve Erceg, Mr. Blue Shirt himself, my guy, real life Rocky. Man, I just need to know. I need to know if you guys have gotten any respected action on this one. Are we just following the market? Obviously, the numbers come down a decent amount, but I need to know who's driving that, man. What's going on?
Yeah, this one's a confusing one to me, and I know the side that you like, but
buying it.
I get it. I 100% get it, and it seems like there's definitely been some sharp money that's pushed that price that way. So we opened Pantoja up at 270. It's sitting 190 now. Early on, we did get a fairly large wager from a respected bettor on Erceg, and that has clearly pushed the market down. And I'm sure there was other respected action elsewhere. But now we're sitting 190 on Pantoja, and I'm just sitting here a little confused. It feels like the market never really respects Pantoja, and I've won a lot of money betting him, but just from looking at how this one is being bet, I'm a little nervous. So I probably won't bet this fight. But yeah, sharp action on Erceg early.
Sharp action on Erceg early. You guys heard it here. I got to tell you, man, I have been part of the disrespect. I've done nothing but try to fade Alexandre Pantoja. And I can tell you, it is my favorite and the worst angle in all of MMA betting. It doesn't work. So here I am, yet again, big pay-per-view. Is this guy ranked number 4 in the world? No. He's barely touched the rankings. He's got almost no UFC experience. And yet I've got my money on him somehow. So here we go again. You're probably good. You're probably good on Pantoja.
We'll see. I mean, I respect a lot of the guys who are on Erceg this week, and I know that's your dog of the week, so it's definitely something we all keep our eye on because, yeah, we got it. We have to use the sharp action and book that way. So
yep,
we're trying to get ahead of it.
I'll be curious to see if you guys get some kind of a buyback here now that Pantoja's number has dropped so significantly. I would think somebody out there has to like the cheap price tag on the current champion. All right, everybody.
On the total on this one, do you like?
You know what? Over? I actually kind of think it's an under because if Erceg is not ready for a title shot, Pantoja's going to show him the door. You know what I mean? It's not going to be competitive. It's not going to be close. He's going to go, I brought this guy up. He wasn't ready. Let's get him out of here. Highlight reel real quick. And then if Erceg is the goods, I actually think his most likely path to victory is knocking out a semi-tired Pantoja in the 3rd or 4th round, something in that ballpark. The dude's long. He hits hard. He's big for the weight class. So, yeah, I think either way, someone probably finishes. I have a real hard time seeing, like, the grisly veteran 25-minute back and forth war like we saw with Moreno, where these guys know each other and there's history and they made adjustments. Like, that's not this fight. This is a short notice, come in. One of these guys is banging it out and walking away with the belt. I think we see violence. Yeah,
I saw a couple bets early on the under, and then like I was just breaking it down, and I could definitely see it the same way that you basically just broke it down. So that's something I liked when I saw a couple bets on the under early, and I've been trying to write some over money. So, yeah, I'm with you there.
There you go. 3.5 scare me, though. I'll be honest with you, man. I like 4.5 or fight doesn't go the distance a whole hell of a lot better than the 3.5. But either way, the lean from me would be under.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, guys, that is the Sharp Action Report. Make sure you support our guy, Andrew. Check out Superbook Sports if you have not already. We've got the links to the Home of Fight Discord in the description below if you guys want to come hang out with us, get in the Discord, chat with us, see what the bets are flying around in there and stuff Andrew, my man, if there's anything you want to mention or shout out, go right ahead.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're gonna get some of these boosts up. I'm looking forward to this card. I'm sorry I don't have. It's been like 2 weeks now that we don't have any big guy action, but this is this is kind of more common of him. He was betting a lot for a little bit there, but he really usually just pick and chooses his spots and kind of goes very heavily on those spots. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this card, and I'll tweet out anything else that comes in for you guys if you're interested. So hopefully we get a big guy ban.
Sounds great. Yeah, you guys make sure, like I said, follow Andrew on social media, especially if you're on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. He does usually blast out the final notes on fight morning in case anything comes in. And a lot of times something does come in after the show because everyone gets to watch the weigh-ins. You've got a whole, overnight session where people can make bets, and these numbers might change just a little bit before the kickoff tomorrow. So give the guy a follow. Make sure you're aware for that blast first thing in the morning. Thank you guys for supporting the show. As always, I will be back with the Undefeated post weigh-in show right after the ceremonial weigh-ins this afternoon. Until then, let's roll.